Hey, Dan Passarelli here. Happy Synthetic Friday. It's the weekend. It's a long weekend. The market is closed tomorrow for the Good Friday holiday. So enjoy yourself a 3-day weekend. Let's take a look at what happened in the market today. We had the S&P 500 pretty flat, up 1.4% on the close, as measured, of course, by the SPY. And the average true range kind of snuck down over the past couple of days, and that's probably because it was a lighter week with the holiday. And when that happens, well, the bosses in New York, they go to the Hamptons and they let the lackeys take control. So they tell them not to trade all that much. So the volume tends to be lower, which, as you can see, relative to what we've seen before this week, it certainly has been, though it's still pretty active. It's still in the top half of this 6-month range. What's notable here to talk about is a few days ago on, I guess that was Monday, the market experienced what is called a death cross. And you might have read something about this. The death cross is when the 50-day moving average, here represented in blue, and the 200 crosses down below the 200-day moving average, represented here in red. What does that really mean? Well, it means that the market is going down at a more accelerating rate. Long term, the 200-day moving average is kind of flat, but the 50-day moving average is decidedly bearish, or decidedly heading down is what I really should say. So that means that the market is decreasing at a faster rate. But what does this always mean? It's not really necessarily very predictive. It is predictive. Since 1970, 1 month after a death cross, the market was down 60% of the time, with an average loss of 1.3%. So 60% of the time means most of the time it's down. So there is an edge there to playing to the downside, but it's only 60%. It's not some sort of guarantee of the market being down, but there is a slight edge to not being bullish. But it is a slight edge. That's down 1.3%. 3 months later, the market's typically only down 0.4%. And 6 months later, the market tends to be up at least 60% of the time. So, not super predictive. The decline usually lasts 2 to 6 months, but it really varies quite a bit. The drawdown can be 5 to 10%, but, it only happens 60% of the time. It's worse in recessionary periods, which we are not in right now. And if you have been watching my videos for a long, long time, I remember talking about this a couple of years ago. What is a recession? I don't know. It used to be, 2 straight quarters of negative GDP, or down GDP, as I recall. I can't recall because they changed it a few years ago. What did they change it to? We'll tell you when it's in recession. So, we're probably never going to hear that we're in a recession ever again, because nobody who's in charge is going to want to say we're in a recession. That's just how government works, right? So I don't know. As far as the death cross goes, I'm not super worried about it. Technicals really do take a backseat to the fundamentals, as we've been talking about for quite some time. What is interesting is that the VIX is really hanging in there. Let's take a look at the VIX here. It's really hanging in there quite a bit. I mean, we had this pretty big, usually a spike is 1 day, but it was longer than a day. We're kind of back down to the high levels of the past 6 months. So I personally would have expected it to have come down even more, but because it didn't, all that does is indicates that, there is still a great deal of fear in the market. Hope that helps. This is Dan Passarelli. Trade smart and have a great 3-day weekend.